Hello, I'm Robin Bortsfield. I live in Pleasanton, Kansas, a small bedroom community about 65 miles south of the greater Kansas City area. I am a licensed 6th through 12th grade business education teacher, and that license covers a broad array of topics. Currently, I teach middle school computer technology as well as several classes within the marketing pathway recognized by the Kansas State Department of Education career clusters. This year marks my 12th year as a classroom teacher, but I was employed by our local school district for 10 years prior in several capacities, including school improvement coordinator and school profile chair. As the parent of 3 grown children, I recognize the need for more connection between what is taught in the classroom and what they expected after high school. I also found that our school was not exceptional in its lack of teaching of relevance. This was even more obvious when we expanded our family business and hired new employees. There seemed to be a disconnect between skill knowledge and skill application. We could hire people with glowing resumes, but those people lacked the application skills to be viable to our business. At that point, it became my mission to bring relevance to the classroom, hence my decision to become a career and technical education facilitator. As it turns out, the timing was perfect. Dr. Bill Daggett's system for effective instruction supports my philosophy perfectly. His system marries knowledge to application across disciplines through the use of 3 R's: rigor, relevance, and relationships. To coin a catchphrase I have heard several times in the past year, I drank the Kool-Aid. To confirm my enthusiasm, Kansas has based its accreditation model on this philosophy and expanded Daggett's 3 R's to include responsive culture and results. To support my confidence, I see a common thread throughout this curriculum and teaching degree. Whether the course was multiculturalism, constructivist learning technology, school improvement, curriculum planning, or any of the other courses included in the program, each echoed the need to build relationships across communities of learners, to connect relevance to what is learned and what is lived, and to increase rigor to prepare students for an unimagined future. One key I consider to be the driving force to education was assessment. I appreciate that this program understates necessity of standardized assessments while overstating the importance of data. State data, local data, and student data are the components necessary to identify and address limitations and at the same time recognize performance. As long as schools are funded by public dollars, an accountability measure is required to satisfy the need to demonstrate quantitative growth. But there must be a balance between educating children and demonstrating improvement. When the pendulum swings too far one way or the other, there is always a loser. As I studied the CAEP standard outcomes for this program, it was difficult for me to identify when and where I was addressing the outcomes. After my formal evaluation, my principal pointed out that CTE teachers are trained to address these standards in their daily instruction. This was a great aha moment for me. I could add some research and best practice support to the elective classes that had been deemed as filler in the minds of so many of my peers. I would like to highlight my Challenge by Design project submitted as an artifact for CAEP Standard Outcome 1.5. However, the project supports all 7 standards to some degree. I understand that it does not follow the rubric, but as a CTE facilitator, my role within the school is to connect skills and knowledge from all disciplines to real-world practice. I think this change in thinking is appropriate. The overarching goal of my Challenge by Design project is to equip students with necessary skills for 21st century college and career readiness. The project begins with an Introduction to Business course that is a broad overview of business activities. The class particularly connects mathematics, economics, written and oral communications skills to real-world applications as identified in Outcome 1.3. I spend a great deal of time documenting using multiple measures and creating a supportive learning environment to foster student growth. Lesson planning is rooted in the various learning styles and abilities represented in the classroom each year, and plans are adapted to facilitate those styles for students to feel comfortable yet challenged every day. Frequent formative and summative assessment guides my planning to address gaps in learning, and students progress toward directed goals according to their own paces. This often requires individualized strategies to ensure that all students reach the goal. This addresses Outcome 1.6 and requires that I form the relationships necessary for students to flourish as they decide whether they want to pursue that pathway or not. Additionally, as a former small business owner, my instructions draw heavily on knowledge and skills specific to retail business, thus addressing Outcome 1.1. I am heavily influenced by Maria Montessori's theory of discovery learning and use that model as well as situated learning in all classes that I teach, thereby maintaining a student-driven learning environment in all my business classes. The model of situated learning extends to the second course in my project, Entrepreneurship. One outcome that is particularly identified is Outcome 1.5, as research through technology and interpersonal communication are frequent activities. Budget constraints and proximity prevent classes from the interaction with local business owners that larger schools enjoy. However, our school is fortunate to have a technology-forward administration, and my students are able to interact with entrepreneurs in real time as well as research using online resources. The final project for this semester class is the creation of a viable business plan for a venture of the student's choice. This project employs critical thinking skills, innovative thought, multidisciplinary application, analysis, synthesis, team building and management, and self-assessment. The culmination of the project is the presentation of their business plan to local community members, Shark Tank style. My role as teacher becomes facilitator and designer of authentic experiences that mirror situations that students will face beyond high school, including but not limited to business interactions, teamwork, and project development. Although I recognize the role that technology plays in 21st century learning, I'm cognizant of the pace that technology advances. My goal is not to allow technology to become the curriculum, but a tool to support the curriculum. Marketing is the capstone class for my pathway, and the project associated with this class is management of our school store. Students who have mastered the skills in the previous classes are the management team for the store. They are responsible for new inventory choice, hiring and recruiting staff, marketing and sustainability of the store, price-cost analysis, staff evaluation, and are assessed on all facets of business operation through observation assessment, as well as formal experiential assessment. They are assessed on the academic as well as the soft skills necessary to be viable candidates for employment upon graduation. This attention to Outcome 1.4 demonstrates a commitment to support environments that afford students access to rigorous college and career-ready standards. CTE facilitators have a separate set of standards that link students directly to the skills necessary to perform at mastery level within the framework of a particular pathway. The role of the teacher becomes the intermediary between core and CTE standards, and we are dependent on core teachers for their instruction and successful student outcomes. CAEP Standard Outcome 1.3 is reflected in every class for every CTE teacher. I'm sure I could find a rationale for every outcome throughout the instruction of my Challenge by Design project, but the CAEP Standard Outcomes targeted for this program reflect the 5 R's identified by Kansas to assess effective schools. As you peruse the artifacts I have chosen for my portfolio, you will see not only do I exemplify the CAEP Standard Outcomes targeted by Curriculum and Teaching 898, but I support the framework identified by the state of Kansas as the model for effective schools. Rigor through Outcomes 1.3 and 1.4, my application of content and discipline-specific knowledge directly reflect state and national CTE standards. Additionally, for CTE programs to be measured effective and thereby funded, they must create a supportive environment that affords all students access to rigorous standards. Relevance is identified in Outcomes 1.1 and 1.5. I connect multidisciplinary content to real-world application to support a learning environment that utilizes skills needed for 21st century citizens. Relationships between students, teachers, and communities are identified, supported, and strengthened throughout all standards in order to engage students to be critical and creative thinkers, innovative problem solvers, and productive team members. Responsive to culture is demonstrated through Outcome 1.4 as I apply personal and professional knowledge and skills to teaching. Results are illustrated by Outcomes 1.2 and 1.6 as research-based strategies are used to support an environment of continual growth of students and learners as a community of learners. I have presented my discussion through the lens of my discipline. As I participated in a meeting recently, our elementary principal made a point to a community member concerning classroom content and the effect of teachers. He explained that while teachers must be content sensitive, it is the strategies they integrate into their teaching that affects students. It is the attention to the strengths and weaknesses represented in every group of children that makes teaching effective, not content alone. This program has taken me outside the comfort of my discipline and into the zone of student achievement and success. I have learned that every human has an individual story and background and reacts to education based on those experiences. Schooling is not about content or knowledge transmission alone. It is about identifying every individual as a human and our response to them as humans first, students second. As the concept of schooling evolves, it is acceptable to embrace the idea of technology being the transmitter of the knowledge that has long been the foundation of education. However, teachers will continue to provide the human element to education. My takeaway from this class is to continually seek the strategies that connect knowledge and application. My big ideas: learning is a continual process for everyone. Students, teachers, parents, administrators, community, everyone is involved in the teaching of our students. Second, there's a teacher role shift. Teachers are no longer considered transmitters of knowledge, but facilitators to the metacognitive skills of critical and creative thinking. Third, students who are engaged in their learning succeed. The takeaways for me are answering the question, will I ever use this, which is the age-old question that students in high school classrooms especially tend to use. It is the directive of every educator, not just CTE teachers, to answer this question. Secondly, teachers cannot work in isolation. 21st century citizens will depend on the interrelationships of ideas and knowledge, and the modeling and practice of this concept in school is essential. When I began this program, my aim was to move beyond the classroom to administration. As I reflect on what I have learned, I feel that the best place for me is as a mentor to those in the district I currently serve. I will continue to seek innovative ways to reach students as each generation brings a new set of challenges, but my ultimate goal is to aid in the creation of a local school environment and culture that allows students to flourish beyond high school, to equip our small town students with the knowledge and skills that will propel them fully prepared into the 21st century and beyond.